Ba-da-da-beep, it's Music Lover, and today we're actually going to dive into KeyWord on the Braille Touch, like I've been saying before in the previous video, or the previous tutorial on the Touch. So, I'm going to show you, I already kind of demonstrated how to create a document, but I want to open up a document and show you some formatting functions and other functions and other things you can do within KeyWord. The coolest thing I think about KeyWord is it's kind of like Microsoft Office Word. Well, more likely it is, but just built in, made more accessible for the touch. And you'll see why in just a few seconds. Alright, let's unlock.
Locked, 12:02, Friday, May 25th, 12:02 p.m. Unlock button, device unlocked. Main menu.
I'm going to use first letter navigation. Pressing W to go to word processor.
Word processor, KeyWord. KeyWord menu. Create.
And we have create, open, print, emboss,
Settings.
and settings. Really quickly, I'm just going to take you into settings just to show you what's in here.
Settings menu. Manage personal dictionary.
You have a personal dictionary that, let's say you have a word that the touch doesn't recognize, maybe a person's name or something else. You can add this to your personal dictionary.
Spell checker language, English, United States.
You can check what language your spell checker uses.
Embosser IP address, 0.0.0.0.
Now apparently I don't have an embosser IP address because I don't really emboss from here. But this is where you can set that up.
Bottom.
And we're at the bottom.
KeyWord menu. Settings.
Alright, let's go back to the top with space with 1, 2, 3.
Top. Create.
We already talked about creating and touch Braille in the previous tutorial, so I'm going to do space, open, hit enter.
Key files. Reading your comments.docs.
Now it says key files reading your comments.docs. This is a folder I have on here. It's just called Music Lover, but if you want to get back to your folders, press your back button, which I'm not going to do because we're going to stay in this folder. However, to get back to any previous folders or drives, you're going to need to press your back, use your back button, and scan with your space bar, previous and next thumb keys until you find what you're looking for. So I want to open, I don't want to, do I want to open this file? Actually, yes, I do. Let's open the reading your comments file. Enter.
Please wait 3 period. Edit box. Reading.
Reading your comments. Basically, it shows centerline then reading your comments. This was a document I made back in last year when I was trying to make episodes of reading your comments. And I sometimes use this, however, I use YouTube Studio more now that I have access to it. Now, I want to show you all the cool things you can do. Already I have this line centered, but let's say you have a title on your document, you want to center it. The command to do that is enter with C. I have that already on here, but let's hit the context menu button, which is the square button.
Content file functions.
Now I'll show you what's in here first before we play with anything else. We have file functions, editing functions, format functions, and that's it. So I'll take you into file functions first.
File functions. File functions. Create new additional document. Backspace with N.
Now, these are some commands that you can use within Word. I haven't used all these yet, but if you want to make an additional document, you use backspace with N. If you're already in a document.
Open additional document. Backspace with O.
Oh, okay, you can switch between 2 documents now. On previous versions, you couldn't. Then that command's backspace with O. You may notice, depending on what version you have, that some of these options are not available. Just update to the newest one, and you'll find those. If you can't, that's totally fine, but if you can, great.
Save, space
To save your document, press space with S. And by the way, when you first create a document, you're going to have to create a name for that document. It's just like with Microsoft Office Word. It will say create document name, and you'll type a name for your document and save it with enter.
Save as backspace with S.
You can save as backspace with S.
File info space with I.
If you want information about your file, which I'll show you later on, I'll show you how that works. Backspace with I.
Switch documents space with dots 1, 2, 5, 6.
So if you have two documents open, you can use space with 1, 2, 5, 6 to switch between them. I think on the Apex it was space, or was it the same command? No, yeah it was. I think it was. Yes it was, sorry. I'm trying to remember. This is a little different from previous Braille Note versions because with the Braille Note, when you hit create, it would take you to the folders, but with the touch, it already opens up a document, kind of like a computer would.
Enable reading mode space with X.
Now you're probably wondering, what is reading mode? Reading mode is where, let's say you have a very long document and you don't want to make a mistake in it, or you don't want to hit backspace and accidentally delete something. You can turn this feature on and you can read it, but you can't edit it. That's basically what reading mode is.
Preview, enter with V.
Enter with V. And if you have your visual display on, preview is where someone who is sighted can look and read your document and access fonts and other visual, or how to read it, basically. Preview is just a better way for sighted people to read your document.
Print as PDF.
Print as PDF.
Bottom.
And that's the bottom of that menu. I'm going to hit my back button.
Edit box. Reading.
Reading your comments. We're back on that. Now I'm going to show you file info. That's space with 2, 4, or space with I.
Information. File name. Reading your comments. Docs.
Now, just to tell you, you can make your files other formats. You can make them, the Braille Touch supports DOCX, docs, or DOC, doc, and RTF files, and BRF files as well.
Number of words 239.
So there are 239 words in this document.
Number of lines 25.
25 lines.
Number of pages 1.
It's only one page.
Bottom.
Okay, we're at the bottom.
Edit box. Reading.
Okay. So I'm going to take you back into the contextual menu.
Context menu. File functions.
And I'm going to hit my next key.
Editing functions.
Enter.
Editing functions. Spell check. Space with dots 1, 6.
That command has not changed. That was previously on the Apex. It hasn't changed, which is good.
Find. Space with F.
Find is a little different. And I will demonstrate that once we're done with this menu.
Find previous. Space with P. Find next. Space with N.
I'll show you that in just a second.
Insert math. Backspace with M.
Insert math. Now if you're in a class, a math class, I know you use this a lot, there's a new application that came with, I forget which update, but it came with, I think, 3.0. You can hit backspace with M and use key math. I will do a later tutorial on how to use key math because that is pretty cool.
Copy. Backspace with Y.
To copy something to the clipboard, that is to copy. Backspace with Y.
Cut. Backspace with X.
Backspace with X is to cut.
Paste. Backspace with V.
That's paste.
Select all. Enter with dots 1, 2, 3.
Select
4, 5,
all.
6. Bottom.
Now, I'm going to show you a few of these right now.
Edit box. Reading.
Reading your comments. Now, let's say I want to find another comments. So I press F with space for find.
Find what?
Now it's saying find what. Now I'm just going to type comments.
Dots 3. Dots TS. Edit box. Comments.
and it put my cursor on the word comments. Now, if I wanted to find a previous, there's no previous, but I would hit space with P.
Reached the end of the document. No matches found.
That's what it will say. Now, if I want to hit next, space with N.
Reached the end of the document. No matches
So
found.
there's no other comments. No other word that says comments. But if there was, it would find it and put your cursor on it. Now, I'm going to go to the very first one that I wrote, which happened to have been Melanie Lindsay's comment. I'm going to show you what it's like to move text around in this document. So, I'm going to put my cursor on the capital in Melanie. And in order to select this, I'm going to hit enter with S.
Selection start.
And now my cursor is flashing. It's like, hey, there's something selected here. You need to finish the selection. So I'm going to go to the end of this comment. I enjoy these kinds of conversations. I'm glad you did this. I remember that video. I did that one. So I'm going to put it on the end. And it's still flashing like, hey, you need to finish your selection. I'm going to do space with S again to end it.
Melanie Lindsay, I enjoy these kinds of conversations. I am glad you did this.
Now,
I didn't realize piece by piece was
it's reading out. I'm going to just hit backspace with enter to stop. Space with G to read, backspace with enter to stop, by the way. And if anyone needs the commands repeated, let me know in the comments below and I'll put them in the description. But anyways, now this whole line has the cursor underneath it. It's all selected. To delete this, you would hit backspace. To copy this, backspace with Y. To cut to the clipboard, backspace with X, which actually I want to do, backspace with X.
Melanie Lindsay, I enjoy these kinds of conversations. I am glad you did.
Okay, now in order to unselect this, you want to move your cursor off of the selection. That will unselect. So I moved it to the next comment. Now I'm going to go back and paste it in that where it was meant to be pasted. Backspace with V to paste.
Pasted.
And it said pasted. Alright, now the last thing I want to show is
Context menu. Editing format functions.
format functions. Here we go.
Format functions. Alignment.
Now I just want to show you,
Paragraph style. Alignment.
you can hit a cursor on this. There's a lot more than,
Align left. Backspace with L.
so you can align left.
Align center. Enter with C.
So in order to center your text, enter with C.
Align right. Enter with R. Align justify. Enter with J. Bottom.
So that's alignment. I'm going to just go through
Edit
these.
box. Austin.
And it took me back in my
Context
document.
menu. File editing format functions. Paragraph style.
Alright.
Keyword. Style. Normal. Line spacing. Single spacing.
And you can change any of these. You can have it double spacing or whatever you need.
Bold checkbox. Checked.
Now I have bold checkbox checked. You can check or uncheck this edit box.
Italics checkbox. Not checked.
I don't have that checked.
Underline checkbox. Not checked.
You can underline certain parts of your text and bold other parts.
Bottom.
And that's it in that.
Edit box. New line. Formatting completed. Context menu. Format functions. Paragraphs. Formatting details. Space with dots 3, 5.
In order to check your format, you would use space with dots 3, 5.
Bold. Enter with B. Italics. Enter with I. Underline. Enter with U.
And those are just some commands.
Default font attributes. Backspace with D. Bottom.
Alright.
Under it bold.
Hold on a
Format
sec.
paragraph
I just
style.
want to show something really quick.
Style. Normal.
You can go into
Style.
styles, and I'm going to show you styles.
Heading 1. Heading 2.
You can add headings.
Heading 3. Heading 4. Heading 5. Heading 6. Numbered list.
You can make lists, like numbered,
Alphabetical list.
alphabetical,
Roman numbered list.
Roman numerals,
Bulleted list.
bulleted.
No list. Default paragraph font. Bottom.
Alright.
Keyword. Style. Normal.
So there are many things you can do in KeyWord. Now, before you make any lists, let me just make a note here. Before you make any lists at all, you need to select the text and have your cursor on it in order to create a list.
Edit box, Austin. Alert exit keyword. Do you want to save your document?
No.
Button. Yes button. No button.
I don't want
Keyword
to.
menu. Open.
Now, I just went in and showed you a brief synopsis of what KeyWord is, what it does,
Main menu.
a lot of the features you can use, and you can make documents as professional looking as possible.
Screen off.
Now, I want to talk about printing and embossing before I end this video. Because the Touch is a little different than the Apex, printer manufacturers, you can make this a little more of a process. You can't just plug in your Touch into a USB port into the printer. So basically, like, if you have one of those printers with a USB port, you can't plug that into your Touch and then print from there. However, there are some exceptions, like some apps allow you to do that. Now, I was about to say, in order to print, you must download an app from the Google Play Store that supports your printer. There's like an HP. There are many of them on the App Store. You just have to look for one that supports your printer and download it. Now, the Touch has a new application for embossing, and I'm going to just go into that for just a sec.
Lock 12:18 p.m.
Okay.
Unlock button. Bottom. Bottom. Locked. 12. Unlock but device unlocked. Main menu. Fall applications. Main menu. All apps. Firebird Mobile.
This is a new embossing app.
Firebird
If I
Mobile.
go in here now,
Firebird Mobile. More options, but pick image button.
it says pick image.
Soft. Select filter drop down list. Emboss button. Phoenix Gold. Select embosser drop
Now
down
these are
list.
the only embossers you can use. Phoenix Gold,
Showing 3 items. Phoenix Gold. Romeo 60.
Romeo 60,
Juliet 120.
and Juliet 120.
Bottom. Firebird Mobile. Main menu all apps. Recent apps.
So the Touch is a little different than previous generations of Braille notes.
Contacts.
Quiet.
Screen off.
Previous generations of Braille notes, you could just send it to the embosser, but because the Touch is more like a computer-based, it's a tablet. It's not like the previous Braille notes. You have to download an app, and you have to give the machine the requirements. I haven't used this feature a lot, so I don't know much about it, so sorry if I'm giving vague information about this. However, there are other tutorials, there are other videos on that. Like Humanware has done a tutorial on the Firebird app. So I hope you found this helpful and enjoyed using KeyWord. Music Lover signing off, but always reminding you that at times it's okay to be random.